Welcome to the Nevis Newscast. Today is Thursday, 12th October 2017. I am Pamela Diaz. Change the future of migration, invest in food security and rural development is the theme for World Food Day 2017. In light of this, the Ministry and Department of Agriculture will be hosting a week of activities to celebrate World Food Day. Earlier today, we caught up with Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Hughie Sargent, who spoke a little about the World Food Day theme.
What the theme embodies this year really is to acknowledge that persons move quite a bit through, whether it is political conflict, climate change, wars, anything. People keep moving. However, the food security still remains an issue. We have people who are still hungry, and when you move because of conflict, you put strain on other countries, on the resources for other countries. So the United Nations this year decided to focus on ensuring that wherever you are, you can be afforded the opportunity to eat.
Sargent highlighted two new activities that will take place this year, which are a gospel relief concert and a local agro-products tasting day. A gospel relief concert will take place on Saturday, 14th October at the Nevis Cultural Village with headline act Bridget Butchler of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
We're encouraging persons to come on out and support the farmers of Dominica. And this activity will kick off at 7:30 and it takes place at the Nevis Cultural Village. Tickets are just $20. We're also encouraging persons to bring along their children. And what we are also welcoming and accepting are toiletries, food, dry goods, of course, that we can collect and we'll be able to sort and donate to the hurricane relief effort in Dominica.
Mr. Sargent stated that the cost of admission for the concert is $20 EC. The other activities for the week include a church service on Sunday, 15th October at the Wesleyan Holiness Church in Brown Hill, beginning at 10 a.m. An address by Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, on Monday, 16th, which is the official celebration of World Food Day. Also on World Food Day, there will be a local agro-products tasting day at various supermarkets on the island. On Tuesday, 17th October, is a reactivation of the Farmers Field School methodology at Cades Bay. On Thursday, 19th October, is a composting workshop at Cades Bay, New River, and Prospect. Then on Friday, 20th, a food fair at the George Mowbray Hanley Market Complex in Charlestown, beginning at 9 a.m., will be hosted. The Department and Ministry of Agriculture hosted a urban, peri-urban, and backyard gardening workshop earlier today at the Ministry of Agriculture's conference room. Plant Production and Protection Officer at the Food and Agriculture Organization, Dr. Viju Lopez, gave an overview of the support for the increased access and availability of urban, peri-urban, and backyard gardening workshop.
When people say agriculture, everybody thinks of this farmer with this little hoe and whatever walking around and little garden and so on. But it is this agriculture that gives us food. Food does not grow in laboratories. Food grows in the field, out there. Yeah? Whether you're talking about crops, whether you're talking about animals, it grows out in the field. Okay? And it is that food produced from agriculture that we now consume, and that then becomes food.
Outlining the overview of the workshop was international consultant for the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, Juanita James.
And I hope that through this project that we can enhance the efforts that already I know in place to get not just young people, but all of us eating what we grow and growing what we eat. In this workshop, as Dr. Lopez mentioned, I will be sharing with you the experience we had in Antigua with backyard and school gardens, and it's still ongoing, as well as I was involved in a similar project in some of the other OECS islands. So I will have the opportunity to share some of that with you. And also just to see what we have been able to achieve, but as well what some of the challenges were, what we have learned from the problems we faced, and how we can, share that with others, and hopefully that they can avoid some of the pitfalls and build on what has been happening already.
Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Hughie Sargent, also present at the opening ceremony of the workshop and delivered brief remarks. Chairing the ceremony was Deputy Director in the Department of Agriculture, Floyd Liebert. The workshop was attended by a number of students from the primary and secondary schools on the island, as well as farmers and agricultural officials. The workshop was hosted by the Department of Agriculture in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. The St. Kitts and Nevis Conserving Biodiversity Project earlier this week officially launched their campaign titled "It's All About Balance." Project Coordinator, St. Kitts and Nevis Conserving Biodiversity Project, Claudia Drew, explained that the project is funded by the Global Environment Facility, GEF, with support from the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, Barbados, and the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, office. Drew outlined the objective and purpose of the project.
And its objective is to set up a system of protected areas to assist us in conserving our biodiversity. We are aware that we have a very rich biodiversity, which we're very proud of, especially when we look at, say, Nevis Peak or the Central Forest Reserve, or if we look at our reefs. But we want to be sure that we're using the resources that are around us in a wise enough manner so that we can conserve some, save enough for future generations. And that's the main thrust of this project.
Communication consultant Conserving Biodiversity Project, Shirlene Tablada, who listed the main messages in the communications campaign.
There are two main messages that we are trying to get across to the various target groups that we're working with, and one is use our resources wisely. The second message that we say to people, help us to conserve our biodiversity.
She explained that the idea is to educate persons on various ways persons can use the resources wisely and ways in how persons can conserve special resources.
But if we don't engage people, at the end of the day, one of the main things that we want is for people to start taking action. That is critically important because at the end of the day, the conservation of our biodiversity is dependent on the action that each individual in St. Kitts and Nevis take in order to conserve biodiversity. And that's what we want to make clear.
She also explained the target audience for the campaign.
We have several groups that we're targeting. Users of the resources, for example, farmers, fishers, the general public. And so we have been communicating to them. There's policy decision makers, children, youth, and we have crafted various messages based on who it is we're talking to. But the communication campaign is about engaging the everyday person in a discussion on biodiversity and helping them to understand the value of our resources and how they can play a part in protecting the resources for future generations, and so that we could continue to enjoy the kind of life that we enjoy in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Persons are asked to remember that biodiversity provides life for people on Nevis and by extension the world, and individuals can contribute to the conservation of our biodiversity by saving water, disposing of trash in secure bins, picking up garbage on the streets, as well as not littering, and refrain from uprooting trees and plants that help the soil keep intact. The communications campaign started earlier this week and will continue until the conclusion of the project. Still to come, Nevis coastal cleanup slated for Saturday. The details when we return.
known as Wali, land of beautiful waters by its native inhabitants, and later nicknamed Queen of the Caribbean by British settlers. Nevis has long relied on its natural prowess and resources to create livelihoods for its people. The people of Nevis have long remained connected to the gifts nature has bestowed. As an ambassador of this majestic island, it is my duty to encourage my people to nurture, preserve, and protect what makes us unique as a people and strong as a country.
This one is dedicated to my lovely little island.
Welcome back. The Nevis Historical and Conservation Society, NHCS, will host the annual Nevis Coastal Cleanup on Saturday, 14th October from 7 a.m. to noon at various locations throughout the island. The original date was set for September, but due to the passing of Hurricanes Irma and Maria, the date has changed to this week's Saturday. Ocean Conservancy International Coastal Cleanup Coordinator Danielle Moore explained the significance of hosting the cleanup.
A lot of marine life, such as sea turtles. I don't think there are that many sea lions that many manatees in the Caribbean, but fishes, birds. When the International Coastal Cleanup shows their images of what washes up on the beaches, they can find, and they examine the dead bodies of birds. They find bottle caps, plastics, parts of shoes, all of that stuff inside the animal's body. They mistake these common items as food, and that's dangerous because you have a lot of species that are endangered, and it's not that they're just being eaten up. Too many of them are being eaten by their own natural predators. It's because we're killing them off by throwing this trash all over the place and everywhere else.
Moore also outlined the application process and clarified that all items needed to participate in the cleanup will be provided by the International Coastal Cleanup Oceans Conservancy.
The coastal cleanup package consists of gloves, we have bags, and we also have a volunteer card in which when you collect the trash, where you're collecting plastic bottles, glass bottles, metal pieces, cans, you have to indicate on the card how many of each you've collected. So this is what the card looks like for volunteers. This is given to the leader, and then the larger groups would split up into smaller groups. They would also get additional cards, and then we compile all the data at the end of the day. To sign up your group, you contact the NHCS 469-5786. If you sign up late, you'll be assigned a beach, but if you sign up now, you'll get an option to pick your beach. So be sure to contact us as soon as possible and get your team signed up. If it's just one person or a small group or even a large group, it doesn't matter, the more the merrier.
The coordinator used the opportunity to encourage persons to dispose of their trash in a safe and eco-friendly manner. Persons who have already signed up to participate in this year's Nevis Coastal Cleanup are asked to collect their resources, which include gloves, clipboards, bags, and data entry forms from the Alexander Hamilton Museum by tomorrow, Friday, October 13. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced Louise V. Tannock as Honorary Council for St. Kitts and Nevis in Bermuda. Ms. Tannock, a retired civil servant with competencies in higher education, curriculum development, mentoring, and history heritage, has distinguished herself for over 3 decades in both the public sector and civil society. She is renowned for influencing and promoting the need for Bermudan students to develop a deep appreciation for various cultures and organized led education tours to Cuba, Philadelphia, and St. Kitts and Nevis. Bermuda is an affluent small island, British overseas territory, which is largely self-governing. While there are no embassies, there are 21 consulates which are responsible for promoting the interests of the countries they represent. Bermuda holds associate membership status in the Caribbean Community CARICOM. St. Kitts and Nevis joins Jamaica as the only 2 CARICOM member states with consular presence in that British overseas territory. The ministry welcomes Ms. Tannock's appointment as a positive development which will allow her to represent the interests of St. Kitts and Nevis nationals in Bermuda. Her work in Bermuda is expected to deepen the relationships between the peoples of Bermuda and St. Kitts and Nevis, resulting not only in better mutual understanding, but opportunities for cultural exchange programs and investments. That's it for this edition of the Nevis Newscast. I am Pamela Diaz. Thank you for viewing.